Hi everyone. Over the last few months we've been thinking about covenant and kingdom, who we are as God's people and how we're called to live as citizens of his kingdom. And we're going to continue that idea by exploring what is known as the Sermon on the Mount, a block of Jesus' teaching found in Matthew 5-7. And one of the things that happens right at the beginning of this passage is that his disciples come to Jesus and he begins to teach them. And over the next few months, as we look at what Jesus said, we will encounter many things that we might find challenging. Are we prepared to be taught by him, to learn from him, to change? Over the last few weeks, you've probably noticed there's a competition between two people to become the next leader of the Conservative Party and our next Prime Minister, with the results being announced on Monday. And one thing has become clear, and that is that both candidates have very different approaches to how we address the very real challenges that face our country. Do we carry on in the same way? Do we change? And if so, what do those changes look like? And in this Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is laying out a totally different way of life to that which people would have been used to. It challenged much of their understanding about what God expected of them. It asked difficult questions that they needed to wrestle with. And as Chris reminded us on Sunday, this is something that Jesus often did. And it's still true for us today. That what we find in these chapters are often so far removed from how our society expects us to live, that we are faced with very real questions about how we respond. Should we take on all these words of Jesus and live them out as faithfully as we can? Were they for the people he was speaking to then and don't apply in the same way to us today? What do they mean for us in our situation? So, as we engage with these words of Jesus over the next few months, I'd like to encourage you to keep two questions in mind. What is God saying to me? What am I going to do about it? And we may come up with different answers to these questions as God speaks to us in different ways. But let's be ready to be taught by Jesus and to put his words into practice.